What is up, and welcome back to Cajun Towboater Reviews. My name is Bo, aka the Cajun Towboater, and today we will be reviewing the Netflix special Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. I know I'm a little late on doing this, but I got home from work last week, had a death in the family, and was rearranging my office. And as you can tell, I'm still kind of tearing some stuff down. I'm gonna be painting it and stuff like that. But I figured now would be a good time to do it. So I'll be going over the good, the bad, pointing out some Easter eggs that I've noticed on my first watch and rewatches, and also going over some critiques. I do want to state that this is the opinions that I do express in this video are my own. I know they will differ from many of y'all's opinions, but these are my own. Let me know what y'all opinions are in the comments. I'll respect them as long as you respect mine. So without wasting any more time, let's get this review started. But first, I will issue a spoiler alert warning. I mean, the show's been out for a week now. The special's been out for a week now, and I mean, go watch it if you haven't watched it. If you don't have Netflix, find someone who will let you borrow it. They're not cracking down on that just yet. So, now let's cue that intro. It starts off with a text screen stating, "One fateful day in 1993, the evil sorceress Rita Repulsa escaped her space dumpster prison and attacked Earth. 5 teenagers with attitudes had their lives changed forever when Zordon chose them to defend the planet. In the decades since, many more heroes have continued their legacy. The people of Earth rest easy knowing their home is protected by Power Rangers." So we get the opening scene with David Yost returning as Billy Cranston. He's on the ground, beaten, bloodied, and he's hurt, and he's picking himself up. It widens out, and he's surrounded by putties. And then we get a familiar laugh. It is Rita Repulsa, but not the Rita Repulsa we remember. This is Robo Rita. So she asks Billy if he has any last words. And for the first time in almost 30 years, we get to see David Yost morph into the Blue Ranger when he yells, "It's morphin' time." We get a little bit of action with Billy fighting the putties, and then it cuts to Rita asking why he brought her to that location, and then backup arrives. Zach and Kimberly go to help Billy up, and we get to hear Walter Jones as Zach, the Black Ranger, for the first time in almost 30 years as well. And it is good to hear him. They exchange a few words, and then they start running, and we start hearing the Power Rangers theme, and we get the title card basically. And it is amazing the way they run. The fireworks start, or the explosions start. You know, the typical Power Ranger stuff. And they're fighting, and I don't know if they got voice actors or if they used footage like voice audio from the series from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But if they got voice actors, I mean, they got them to match up really, really well. I'm not quite sure, but I really think it is. They just use audio from it because you definitely hear some of Jason David Frank's, the way he sounds whenever he would do the fighting and stuff like that. And Billy goes ahead, he's fighting Rita while everybody else is fighting the putties. And he does this little this maneuver, and he gets a hit in, and he damages Rita's face. And she knocks him down, and she says, "You want to get serious? Let's get deadly serious." And she sends a blast from her magic wand. And right before it hits her, this is the moment we were all wondering how it was going to happen whenever they first announced it. Um, Trini hollers Billy, which that is actually a voice clip of Twee Train from the show, and she jumps in front of taking the blast, and she gets destroyed or killed, whatever you want to say. Either way, she dies. And you get Billy and Zach take off their helmets and are just in disbelief. They're in shock that Trini was just killed. Kimberly falls to her knees. Tommy and Jason are just standing there in shock. They're mourning. Now, I have a problem that someone stated, I mean, which is, it's still their opinion, but they stated that, oh, for them being best friends and something like that for 30 years, best friends enough for someone to sacrifice their life, her life for you, they didn't mourn the right way. Your best friend of 30 years just jumped in front of a blast and was blown to smithereens. You're not just going to break down and start crying. You're going to be in shock, like, what the hell just happened? Which I don't get why someone wanted them crying right there. But I digress. Rita says that if they need her, she'll be in a dark dimension, planning her revenge. We cut to a little house. It pans over to the mailbox that says Quan on it, which is Trini's last name. And inside you have Zach and Billy discussing what they're going to tell her daughter Min. Zach's trying to come up with every excuse possible. Billy keeps saying, no, we need to tell her the truth. She's too smart for that, for us to lie to her. Zach's like, but you know Zordon's rule. And Billy says, you know, rules are meant to be broken. Zach finally says she doesn't need to know her Power Rangers. And Billy says she needs to know Rita Repulsa killed her mom. They hear the books drop. And Min's right there and hears everything. She's in shock, which is another thing that the same few people that I've heard talk about it have said. Her mom just died and she just ran off. She's in shock. I've actually commented on one of the YouTube videos that has said that I was away at work 2 years ago when my grandfather passed away. I was very close to him, and I'm on a boat in the middle of the Mississippi. My mom calls me. Her father-in-law, my dad's dad, my grandfather, had a heart attack and he passed away. I was in shock. It took me probably about 6 to 8 hours before I broke down and just cried, because I didn't believe it. But once again, I digress. So we cut to a year later, and we get the same pan over to the mailbox, but this time it says Quan and Taylor, because Zach is living there now, and Min is practicing and training, and she's doing the praying mantis style that Trini used to do, the martial arts style. Zach is now her guardian, and he's in the house. He was a congressman. He left Congress to take care of her, take care of Min. Min comes in. Zach says, hey, let's go ahead and get ready. We're going to be going to the cemetery. And you know how Billy hates when we're late. So it cuts to the cemetery, and they're talking, and this is definitely voice clips, because you can tell that's Amy Jo Johnson yelling Pterodactyl, Jason David Frank yelling Dragon Zord, and Austin St. John yelling Tyrannosaurus. The thing is, I don't know if they had David Yost re-record him saying Triceratops, or if they just used that from the show as well. That was the hard part. They're being ambushed by Rita, and she has remade two of her monsters, Snizzard and the Mighty Minotaur, and they're now in robo form as well. Snizzard has a new power, and Minotaur has a few new powers as well that I'll go into once we get to that part. Min and Zach are hiding behind the rad bug. Min wants to fight. Zach tells her that's a no-go, you stay right here. And then he jumps and morphs. This is where one of the lines kind of gets me, because Zach lands and he's fighting the Minotaur, and he goes, "Zack is back," and then pauses, and then he says, "In black." It was just a weird pause in between that, but it was still good to see him flip and fight and do all of that. So Snizzer's new power, because Rita has a big machine, no one knows what it's for yet. He uses his snake claw to bite and paralyze Jason, and then he shoots out these little snakes that wraps him up, shrinks him, and throws them to Rita. And he does the same thing to Tommy and Kimberly, and shrinks them down. Billy, Min, and Zack escape in the Radbug, or the Radbug 2, and head back to Min and Zack's house. Back at the house, Zack and Billy are trying to figure out what the machine's for. I just love it how Zack's like, what does her machine do? Like, Billy would know exactly what it does, but even Billy's like, I don't know. They're trying to figure out a plan, and Min comes in saying we need a killer, and that she says she killed Mom. Both of them are saying no, you just need to stay here and we'll take care of it. And when Billy says the best thing for you to do is just stay here, let us handle it, Min goes, yeah, because you're the one that caused all of this, and she kind of lets her anger out on him. And it's that one part, like, you see it on Billy's face, and she just goes, oh, that stung, didn't it? And she's like, good, and she just walks away. And as a father of a teenage girl, yeah, that attitude's definitely on point. I found that to be a little rough, but this is a more mature Power Ranger special. It then cuts to Rita's Moon Palace, which I like. They added the Bandora's Palace on the door because I'm pretty sure, I'd have to look it up, I'm pretty sure that was one thing that was removed from it whenever they would show Rita's palace on the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger show, but I'm glad they added it back. She is enjoying her little victory that she got right there, and then she wants to see how much power that she's getting from the 3 Rangers she's already captured, and it's not enough. She realizes she needs more. Minotaur and Snizzer are trying to figure out a way to get them. He says the only way we can track them is if they morph. And Rita says good thing she knows a way to get Power Rangers out into morph. It cuts to the command center because Billy says that's the scanners they need are over there, or like he calls it, Cranston Tech, because Billy rebuilt the command center, but he built his company on top, and beneath it, is the command center. They're trying to figure out a way to scan to find Jason, Tommy, and Kimberly. But as of right now, they have no clue exactly where they are. They're not getting any scans or anything like that. We get to see Billy is still blaming himself for this happening, and it cuts back to a year before. But Billy and Alpha 8 are trying to resurrect Zordon. They're trying to find any remnants of him from the Z-Wave, which that's the first time that's named in the series, that spread across the universe to see if there's any way they can compile them and get Zordon back. They find a huge energy signature, and they think it's Zordon, so they go ahead and they start trying to put it all together. The tube that they would be placing Zordon back in turns purplish, like dark purple, and it cracks, and particles and like build up and fly out, and they take over Alpha 8's body. And Alpha 8's body transforms into Robo-Rita, which is how we get Robo-Rita. She explains that yes, Zordon's remnants are out there, but also whenever it purified Rita, her evil energy was dissipated out there too, and they helped pull it all back together as well. And that's when Billy runs out and calls for help, and that's where we get the beginning of the special. Before before Trini dies and stuff like that. So it cuts back to the present, and Zach is telling Billy, hey, he was trying to do something good. He didn't know that this was going to happen. So to stop blaming himself, the alarm goes off, and Alpha says it's putties are attacking, but it's not just Angel Grove, it's all over the world. And Billy says, we prepared for this, so you know what to do. And he activates the Bandora protocol, which calls out to all Power Rangers around the world and galaxy, and even other galaxies, to ready up. And within 3 seconds, Cat teleports and Rocky teleports. They tell them what's going on, and they tell Cat and Rocky that Jason, Kim, and Tommy are all captured. We cut to Min, who is angrily training, beating the crap out of a practice dummy, and so frustrated that she's just complaining to her, like venting to herself, and all of a sudden her phone goes off and it's Buzz Blast, saying that putties are attacking the juice bar in Angel Grove. She runs in the house and grabs her mom's morpher, grabs Trini's morpher, and decides to take off and go to the juice bar. It cuts back to the command center, and Billy and Alpha 9 are explaining that even though Jason and Kimberly, along with Tommy, are captured, that Cat and Rocky can still use the Tyrannosaurus and Pterodactyl powers. Zach is a little hesitant at first. He says, you know how what Zordon said about duplicating powers, and a callback to the Wild Wild West Ranger episode. Cat says, I don't care how dangerous too much pink energy is, I'm in. Rocky says, I'm in too, once a ranger, always a ranger. And then we get the first actual Morphin sequence of the show, and this is what it looks like.
It's Morphin time! Mastodon!
Pterodactyl!
Triceratops! Tyrannosaurus!
It was good to see Zach lead the It's Morphin time. I do have some critiques about that, but I will go over it at the end of the video. They go ahead and they save the citizens or civilians of Angel Grove that are being attacked by putties, and I mean the putties are ruthless. Like, they even have one that they throw a civilian off of the parking tower or a high rise or something like that, and Rocky has to catch her. They even like pick up Min and like slam her down on the bar and stuff like that. So the putties are a little more ruthless, and they're not just comic relief anymore. It is at this point that Alpha learns while looking through the cameras that Minotaur is tracking all the Rangers while they're morphed. So he makes a broadcast out, and as soon as Snizzard and Minotaur appear again, they power down and they teleport away. I do want to mention that there is one thing, kind of like the whole Andrew Garfield Spider-Man saving MJ in Spider-Man No Way Home. Rocky, not exactly like it, but Rocky gets his redemption with the spinning kick from Turbo that injured him whenever Steve Cardenas left Power Rangers, and he does the kick perfectly, and it kind of redeems him from that. So I do like how they put that in there as well. Before I forget, I do love that we got some kind of cameo of Bulk and Skull. Now, I mean, it was a billboard for their sandwich shop. I mean, but let's face it, that's not the cameo we wanted from Bulk and Skull. We really wanted to see them in in the special, but I guess we'll take anything we can get. So now we are back at the command center, and they have now discovered that Rita has been rebuilding her palace on the moon, and they deduce that if she's there, then her machine must be there. They get an incoming call from Adam and Aisha with SPA, which is Space Patrol Alpha, which is alludes to Space Patrol Delta in a couple of years, since it did take place, that season did take place in 2025. They do mention the Sirius Galaxy, which is the galaxy and planet or system, which is the planet where Anubis Kruger comes from. He's a Syrian. And they mention the Trubians, which are the bad guys in SPD as well. They say they are 6 hours away from teleporting range. So that tells us right there we're not going to get Adam and Aisha, Morphin, or anything like that. Zach's checking out the command center, the monitors and stuff like that, and he sees the putties are fighting all over. They go back and they're trying to come up with a plan. Aisha thanks Billy for the stealth technology. They come up with a plan to use that to get past Rita in them, but first they have to get Snizzard and Minotaur out of the way. So they're thinking about coming up with a plan for that, and then Zach hears a voice, a familiar voice, and it's Min being attacked by putties in the juice bar. So it cuts to the juice bar, and Min's fighting and telling everybody to go, and she tries to morph, and it's the first time she tries to morph, and nothing happens. So she kind of starts getting her butt kicked a little bit by the putties, and Zach and Rocky show up, and we get a little bit of hip hop keto again.
Time for hip hop keto.
And we hadn't seen that in almost 30 years as well. We get Rocky kicking butt, we get Zach kicking butt, and I love how Min's like, "Are you breakdance fighting?" So they get rid of all the putties, and Min's all excited, and then she notices the voice. She notices her guardian. Sorry, not the voice. Her guardian. She notices Zach is pretty pissed off, and he pulls the Mufasa. You deliberately disobeyed me, and they teleport back to the command center. Here's another part where the teenager with attitude comes in. She's like, "Who knew this was all underneath Cranston Tech?" She goes, Billy says, no one, not even my employees or the public, so it needs to stay secret. And she's just like, so the typical teenage thing. Like I said, if you have a teenage daughter, you understand. So they come up with a plan to use a super magnet to, since they're robots, it's Snizzard and Minotaur robots, to trap them. So Rocky and Billy head to the junkyard to meet Kat, while Zach has a talk with Min. And Min's still hot-headed. She wants revenge, and I think this was one of the perfect things to have Zach say as her guardian, but also as, someone who grew up, like, started as a teen doing all of this and is now in his 40s doing all of this. He tells her that his mentor, when he was younger, told him revenge is for monsters, or only monsters take revenge, and which is true from the show's point of view and stuff like that. It's amazing to point out. And he tells her, "Do you think we do this for fun or stuff like that?" And he goes, "No, you have to be selfless." And I do like the way that goes. So at the junkyard, Kat, Billy, and Rocky trap Snizzard and Minotaur with a giant magnet. and they head back to the command center to put phase 2 of the plan in motion. They go ahead and disguise themselves with Billy's stealth tech and have Alpha transport them to the moon. I like how Alpha kind of says stuff in the background, like you'd have to really listen to catch that. Some like after you on more than one watch is what I'm trying to say. Because I didn't catch it the first time. But he says, maybe I should warm up the volcano, which is talking about the volcano with the pterodactyl in it. So Min thinks that just because her Uncle Zach told her what it is to be a hero, that she can be a hero. She takes the stealth tech, borrows the morpher, her mom's morpher, and disappears so Alpha can't stop her. Takes the rad bug, and on her way to the junkyard, she helps a couple. And I do like how Hasbro did include that. It's good to include things like that, like to show that they support the LGBTQ community. She helped save them, and it's kind of like she was trying to get the car to fly, and it kind of it didn't start flying until she turned on the windshield wipers. But if you notice, whenever they were escaping the graveyard, whenever they flew up, the windshield wipers were going, so it kind of hinted at you that it won't start flying until till the windshield wipers are turned on. So she gets to the graveyard, and this one of my favorite lines in there. She tells Snizzard and Minotaur that your boss killed my mom, and and Snizzard goes, "We work for an intergalactic war criminal. You're gonna have to be more specific." So she says who her name is, and Rita shows up after she tries to morph again and fails. And then she gets her ass kicked by Rita. So now we're on the Moon Palace, disguised with the stealth technology. Rocky, Cat, Zach, and Billy take care of the putties. And before they can go ahead and stop the machine, Billy notices that the snakes are tethered to the Rangers, and it's more than just the 3 Rangers now. There's a whole bunch of them. He tells them they can't destroy it because it's connected to all of them. Rita shows up with Minotaur holding Min captive, and a fight breaks out. After Rita explains her plan that she wants to go back in time and team up with Rita when she just gets released out of the space dumpster and kill the original Rangers while they sleep. And Billy gets knocked down again by Rita. And before she can go ahead and kill him again, or try to kill him again, sorry. Same way that Trini jumped in front of the blast, Min jumps in front of it. The blast hits the morpher, she hits the wall and gets knocked out. Next thing you know, they're trying to wake her up, and she gets memories from the morpher, Trini's memories from the morpher, and she wakes up, and we get the second morph sequence with all 5 of the other Rangers, with all 5 Rangers.
Mastodon! Pterodactyl! Triceratops! Saber-toothed tiger! Tyrannosaurus!
After they morph, they start kicking everybody's butt, and Cat goes to destroy the machine with her power bow, and Rita stops her and says, "Nah, you don't want to destroy your friends." So Billy says, "No, we can't destroy her machine until we destroy Snizzard." Rita throws Snizzard out the Moon Palace and makes him grow, and as she's distracted, Billy just flat out stabs her through the back with his power lance. Thinking she's destroyed, Billy says that Min's gonna go with him, and Rocky, Zach, and Cat can take care of the Minotaur. So they have Alpha send the Megazord, the Dinozords, to the moon. They build the Dino Megazord, and they start fighting Snizzard. and while the other three are fighting the Minotaur, they get the upper hand. Cat shoots out his club with a power bow. Zack knocks him down and knocks the shit out of his hand with the power axe, and Rocky does the final blow by jumping up and just like flat out stabbing him with the power sword. And it's even called out by Cat. She goes, "Rocky, that was brutal." After that, they join Billy and Min in the Dino Megazord, and they take care of Snizzard. They get beat up by Snizzard a little bit, and they notice that Roborita is still alive. The portal's opening up, so they take care. They get back up. They call the power sword. Don't know why Billy called it the Mega Power Sword, but they did the power sword and destroy Snizzard. And as Rita's coming out the dumpster in 1993, Min throws the power daggers and pins Rita to the wall, and Zack destroys her. They go back to the command center, and Adam and Aisha, well, after they destroy the machine, and they free the Rangers and stuff like that, Adam and Aisha have the miniature Rangers loaded up on the mega ship, and they have a course set for for Aquitar, because they have the science to break the spell, like make the Rangers that were miniaturized grow back bigger. And they offer Billy a ride back to Aquitar because Sestria misses him. That's the Aquitian that he fell in love with, if you remember that Zeal story. Billy says he has a couple of things to handle before he can get back to his old adventures. They take off. I love how Aisha says it's great to see that the Saber-Tooth Tiger legacy is in good hands. Zack, Billy, and Min go to the juice bar. They get smoothies. This is where Min apologizes for everything. I love how Billy says, I mean, you didn't say anything I haven't told myself hundreds of times. So it's got good closure with that. I do enjoy that they did that. Then they start telling stories about Trini, and that's how it closes out after she mentions that the Morpher gave her memories. So Billy kind of says that maybe there is a way we can still get Zordon back. And it closes out with that. It cuts to a scene from the Guitardo episode from season 2, where after Tommy loses his powers, and Kim sings Down the Road with Zack. And that was kind of a bittersweet scene, seeing Tommy and Trini, Tweetrang and Jason David Frank. And then after the song finishes, it cuts to fades to black, and Tweetrang and Jason David Frank's pictures pop up, and it says, "In loving memory of Tweetrang and Jason David Frank." And then it says, "Once a Ranger, always a Ranger." And then it cuts to the closing credits, and I like how they did the closing credits. They took the Rangers that came back, the actors that came back, how they used to do it on the show, where it showed their picture and the Ranger they are. It showed them younger, then switched to them in the present day, and it did that for David Yost, Walter Jones, Steve Cardenas, and Catherine Sutherland. And I did like the way they did that as well. So that is the end of my review right there. So let's go ahead and check out some Easter eggs. Alright, y'all. I do have a list of the Easter eggs that I did kind of notice throughout my watches and rewatches. So I probably missed some of them. But if you see me reading off this list, it's just because that's what I have written down to remember. So some of the Easter eggs that I found is The voice clips, I love how they use the voice clips of JDF, Austin St. John, Amy Jo Johnson, and even David Yost for the Morphin the Cemetery, which I did mention that in the review as well. Harvey Garvey's name on one of the tombstone. If you don't remember Harvey Garvey, he is the television host, that talk show host that the Power Rangers were part of his talk show, guest on his talk show. Another one that I did mention is Rocky getting redemption for not rotating enough when he got injured in Turbo. Cat bringing up the too much pink energy. This also debunked the Billy being the Phantom Ranger in Turbo and in space, because Billy's there, but yet they capture the Phantom Ranger, and that was one of the miniature Rangers that were in Rita's machine. Also, most of the figures, well, all of the figures were Lightning Collection figures. They just kind of had like stuff molded around them to hide the joints and stuff that for the figures. Bandora's Palace, that goes back to Super Sentai, to Zoo Ranger. Zach's Hip Hop Keto, he is the only one that's ever used Hip Hop Keto in the Power Rangers universe. The Z-Wave being mentioned, that's from Power Rangers in Space. The mention of the Trubian Empire, and also SPA is the beginning, the predecessor to SPD. Not the predecessor, the what comes before. Sorry, SPD is the predecessor to SPA. They do mention the Sirius system. When the Bandora protocol is activated, you see Coral Harbor, which is part of Beast Morphers, Reefside, which is part of Dino Thunder, where Dino Thunder took place. Coral Harbor is where Beast Morphers took place. The Astro Megaship from Power Rangers in Space and Lost Galaxy, but I'm pretty sure it's with the In Space Rangers. Turtle Cove, which is where Wild Force took place. Terra Venture, Lost Galaxy, and Osaka, Japan, where all the Super Sentai stuff takes place. Buzz Blast making an appearance in Angel Grove, which that comes from Dino Fury. Rocky not getting to eat before the action, was a running gag with him. The beach Cranston Tech / the command center on looks a little similar to where the Gosei command center was in Megaforce, probably because it was all filmed in New Zealand and it was probably the same beach. Like I said, it just looked familiar to me. Cat operating the crane with the magnet on it, and when she operated the crane Zord. Zach, like I said, it was a Lion King reference, saying you deliberately disobeyed me. I mentioned this again, Alpha stating I guess he'll warm up the volcano, which is good. It was Lightning Collection, Zap, Megazord. This for the Megazord sequence whenever they come out before it switched to CGI. Sorry. Roborita mentioning that she had a headache. I do like how the putties breaking up into little pebbles and stuff like that. It was a callback to the 2017 movie. And another callback to the 2017 movie was the tagline where Rita says, "Together they are stronger." That was one of the taglines, "Together we are stronger." Billy telling men to just follow his lead with the Megazord because it would do it'll be just like second nature to her, which that's one of the things he says when they first get in the Megazord on the first episode. Only teleport when nobody's looking. They always looked around and stuff like that before they teleported. Billy mentioned in Miranoi, overcoming her fear of Trini overcoming her fear of heights, and Shell Shock making her run. So they mentioned Shell Shock and and a few other memories from the episode, different episodes. Um, and I know once again there are probably a lot more Easter eggs to be found, but these are just the ones I was able to find. Let me know in the comments if you found any that I did not mention. So now we're gonna get to the good, the bad, and my critiques and opinions. Alright, y'all, and just like the Easter eggs, I do have a list. We'll start off with the good. So, the music by Ron Wasserman, that's always good to hear. I found out that he can't play guitar, and that riff at the beginning was actually done on keyboard. If you watch Black Nerd Comedy, he did an interview with him where he mentioned that. Also, I love the fact that part of the plot that Billy wasn't just on Aquatar all these years. He actually came back and made created a big tech company and stuff like that, and was trying to get Zordon back. The putties not breaking up, looking like claymation, like stop motion animation anymore, was awesome. Although it was just a sign for their sandwich shop, like I said before, it was good to see a Bulk and Skull cameo. But let's be honest, we would have rather have the real thing. Min using the praying mantis style like Trini, which was good. Billy trying to get Zordon back. Richard Horvitz returning to voice Alpha 8 and Alpha 9. Barbara Goodson returning to voice Rita. The return of the Juice Bar, which is awesome. And the putties actually being ruthless, like I said in the review, throwing someone off the building, and Rocky had to catch him, just slamming Min's back on the counter, on the Juice Bar counter. It really showed that they weren't just there for comic relief. Even though, that's one thing I forgot to mention, even though that Cat only ever fought the Tango Warriors, I'm pretty sure. She did mention that after all these years they still sound like turkeys. Which is true, they do still sound like turkeys, but I don't think she ever did fight the putties on those seasons. She just came in season 3 and they were fighting Tangas. Snizzard and Minotaur's robot forms were amazing. Even the Rita's robot forms. The fact that they put in how to track the Rangers with the Morphin power and stuff like that. I like the fact that they put in the story that Min wasn't able to morph because she had revenge on her heart and revenge on her mind. It wasn't until she was selfless and saved Billy's life by basically almost sacrificing her own that she was able to morph. Zack in a parent role was amazing. I do like that. The Vandora Protocol was a pretty good callback to Super Sentai. I wish they would have showed more places. Let's see. Cat getting to say pterodactyl instead of just Pink Ranger power, because that's all she ever said. And Ninja Ranger power, too. I did mention that, how I love that the Snizzer says that they work for an intergalactic war criminal, when Min said and tells Min she'd have to be more specific. I laughed, so that made it a good part, that Billy telling Snizzard, alright, come catch these hands. A lot of people have pointed out saying, oh my god, the CGI was horrible. It was not as bad as some of the other CGI Megazords in the Power Ranger history. There have been worse. The new Megazord cockpit design is great. I love the fact that even though this was filmed before JDF passed away, that they not only included, in love and memory of Tweet Trains, they did include Jason David Frank as well. And for them being older, almost like in their 50s or almost in their 50s, Steve Cardenas and Walter Jones can still move. I did see. I mean, that's another thing from that Black Nerd Comedy interview. Ron Wasserman said he was there watching, and Walter Jones is doing backflips and stuff like that. He was like, he still got it. He's still in shape. So now we're gonna go to the bad. Some of the acting wasn't that great. It's Power Rangers. I don't expect Oscar winning acting. Just to me, some of that. The Rocky food jokes kind of fell flat to me. The time traveling storyline, and it's just getting old nowadays. They've been doing, I mean, Avengers Endgame and a bunch of other movies and TV shows have been doing the time traveling thing for a good bit now, and it's kind of getting stale. There's not really much bad that I have. I mean, it's just those few things. So, I mean, you can consider some of the critiques I have bad, but it's just more of something they could have kind of lightened up on or done a little different. So, the Morphin sequence, like I mentioned, left me wanting a little more, or not a little more, something better. I mean, I still liked it, but I think back to that RPM or Operation Overdrive episode, the Once a Ranger, where Adam returns as the Mighty Morphin Black Ranger, and that Morphin sequence. It would been great to see something like that. Like I said, I still like this one. It just left me wanting more than just what we used to have. They could have done with a little less of Min's attitude. I mean, as a father of a 15-year-old going on 16 years old, yeah, that attitude is pretty spot on, but they could have did a little bit, kind of held it down a little bit. Wishing we could have seen Adam and Aisha in action instead of just in a cameo role like that, just standing there talking, being professional. And while this last one, I'm pretty sure this is my last one. Yes. This last critique, it's not a critique of the special. It's more of a critique of a few fans that on Facebook that have been making immature comments about Karen Ashley's weight and size, which, yeah, she put on a little weight with age, but that happens to all of us. But she carries it well, and she still looks amazing. So I think as fans and as human beings, we need to do better and just stop criticizing and body shaming others, because that's just ridiculous. But like I said, I don't have many critiques either about it. I loved the episode. I'm glad they did it for the fans, for us fans and stuff like that. It brought me back to my childhood. It definitely pulled at my heartstrings, and made my nostalgia meter hit 100. I do want to thank not only Saban for keeping and creating and keeping Power Rangers for going that long, but also Hasbro for keeping the legacy going. I want to thank David Yost, Walter Jones, Catherine Sutherland, Steve Cardenas, Johnny Young Bosch, Karen Ashley, Barbara Goodson, Ron Wasserman, and Richard Horvitz for returning for this special. This is a lot of legacy actors that we've got returned, and it was amazing. And I want to thank all the Power Ranger actors from the past, present, and future for keeping the series going for 30 years. I mean, I remember watching this at 7 and just being in awe. It was just amazing. I mean, as I probably get this out, it will be Saturday, April 29th, and I will be turning 37 on the 30th. And so 30 years, it's just amazing. You don't really see shows that do that. I mean, yeah, they change casts and they change costumes and stuff like that. I mean, what's one of the only shows, I mean, besides soap operas that you've seen do that? Doctor Who, which is a great show as well. So yeah, I mean, it's that's amazing that this has gone on for that long. But I know many fans like myself not only enjoyed ourselves, but we've enjoyed it with our children as well. I got my son to watch it. My daughter wanted to watch it with me, but she decided her stepfather is a fan too, so she decided to watch it with him, which I'm totally fine with that. Dude's a great dude, so I have no problems with that. So once again, everybody who had a part in this, thank you. Also, that will conclude my review fully. I want to thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for subscribing. Just overall, thanks for everything. And as they say, may the power protect you. And
thanks for coming out.
They've got the ability to morph and to even up the